The National Association of Police Athletic Activities Leagues Youth Organization welcomes you to its From the Voices of Youth virtual town hall series presented by Microsoft and supported by Extended Stay America. We thank you as well as our panelists for joining today's town hall event and anxiously look forward to having some great discussion and learning from each other, all in the name of youth. So now let's get started and meet today's panelists.
And we got to come together as a people.
Welcome to the sixth version, the sixth event of the National PAL hosts From the Voices of Youth Town Hall series. Today's series is coming to you live from Dunn, North Carolina. We're so excited to have the panelists that are all involved and engaged, and looking forward to another great event as we look to again hear from the voices of our young people. Before we get going, I want to thank first and foremost our Dunn, North Carolina PAL program. Thank you first, Rodney Rowland, for being a part of getting all this together along with his staff. Definitely want to thank our youth panelists as well as our panelists of officials. Also, I want to thank our National PAL Board of Directors who are always behind us moving forward and, of course, extending this opportunity to hear from the voices of our young people. Opportunities such as this take place because of great corporate support. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank Microsoft Corporation. I also want to thank Sports Engine, as well as Extended Stay America, for their willingness to support this opportunity, and not just here in Dunn, but in 18 cities that we will be conducting this opportunity across the country. So I definitely want to, without any hesitation, thank our corporate partners and supporters. Before we go into meeting today's panelists, our youth panelists, as well as our officials panelists, I want to make mention to please those that are viewing, if you have any questions, please make sure that you type your questions in the Q&A section, and hopefully we will get an opportunity to address a lot of those questions during the course of the town hall series. But with that, I want to now turn it over to our moderator, Nick Williams, who is looking forward to doing a great job today. And Nick, I'm turning it over to you, and I know we're going to have a great evening. Take it away and let's introduce the panel. I think you guys have to unmute. Here you go.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hood, and good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in with us tonight. My name is Nicholas Williams, and I will be your moderator for the evening. I am currently a senior, and I attend Triton High School. Well, enough about me, so let's get started. To my right, we have our youth panelists, and I will allow them to introduce themselves. Jarrell?
Hello, my name is Jarrell McNeil. I'm 14 years old and a freshman at Triton High School.
My name is Malcolm James Jr. I'm 14 years old and I'm a ninth grade at Triton High School.
My name is Nathan Williams. I am 15 and I am a sophomore at Triton High School.
And now to my left, we have our adult panelists. Starting on the far right, we have Chief of Police, Mr. Clark White. Beside him is Harnett County School Superintendent Aaron Fleming. And next we have Dunn City Councilwoman April Golden and our Mayor of Dunn, Mr. William Elmore Jr. And last, but certainly not least, our celebrity Our celebrity panelist is also a Grammy Award winner singer, Anthony Hamilton. Now, let's kick this off with some questions in regards to our topic. Nathan, would you like to start us off with our first questions under the topic of community safety?
This question is directed towards Mr. White. How do you plan to make the youth more safe around the police force?
Well, in my opinion, the easiest way to accomplish the safety of the youth is to have interaction between the police and the youth. I think that's very important. We strive every day to make ourselves available to the youth in the city of Dunn, not only through the POW program, but through several other programs. We're currently seeking to implement a police cadet program, but we're being hindered at this time a little by the COVID-19 situation. Have a lot of new innovative ideas, and we would love to see them all come to fruition shortly.
I think when it comes to interactions between law enforcement and our youth, especially here in Harnett County, I don't think you have to look any further than with our school resource officer program. When we implemented SROs many years ago across North Carolina, the idea was to have an individual in that school building, an adult that was a member of law enforcement that could build relationships with students, that could show them that law enforcement is someone they could have a conversation with and could talk about life to. And in Harnett County this past year, we've been able to expand the SRO program to all of our elementary schools as well. So now in Harnett County, we have a school resource officer in all of our elementary, middle, and high schools to do exactly along with what your question goes with is to build a relationship with the youth in our communities.
This question is directed towards my city councilwoman, Ms. April. Is there a plan in place to tackle cleanliness in our area, like say trash pickups, sweepers, or just landscaping?
Yes, thank you for that question. Actually, we have a new committee started, which is the beautification committee, which one of our council members, Wesley Seals, has formed and combined another community outreach to join forces with them to add to landscaping, to beautify Dunn. So we do have that in the works. We actually just started that committee, I believe, 2 meetings ago. So yes, we look forward to what they have. We did have the sunflower garden, which went very well. A lot of people were pleased by that. So we have a lot coming to Dunn.
My question is for all of you. In your own way, how would you be more active in the community?
Well, I'll start with that one. We are very active in the community. I think the city council, the mayor, the city manager, the police department, all city agencies are very active in the community. And I'll give you a perfect example of outreach and cooperation that exists in the city of Dunn. Last week, the Dunn United Ministerial Association expressed a need to the officers within the city of Dunn. They were running short on food and supplies and money and those type of things. Several officers from the police department, community enhancement team, patrol division, and members of the community banded together and began a food drive. We were able to raise 3 van loads completely full of food, along with about $1,500 in cash for the Duma Food Pantry in a matter of about 6 to 8 hours. I think that's a huge step, and things like that and outreach, cooperation between people and agencies and the city and different entities. I think faith-based communities, everything is very important.
For the schools, I think that's exactly correct. It's about interagency relationships and working with the municipalities, working with county government, and making sure that we are following along or in some cases leading trends within the county when it comes to economic development, workforce development. We believe everything really starts with the public schools because all of us have had some form of education through K-12 and ultimately through higher education. And we know that it's very important that we work with our parents, our students, our staff, and like I said, various agencies in the county, because without that cooperation, the school district doesn't receive funding. We don't really receive even our direction, and it's our job to educate our students and to ensure that the county is growing through the voices of our parents and through our community. And so I think it's very important we stay active and work with all of our stakeholders.
I myself personally think that it's very important to stay involved with the community. I am a community and servant leader, so that is one of my goals. When I started the campaign, that was one of my number one goals, is to stay committed within the community. Community involvement, staying connected with not just my constituents, but the city of Dunn residents, business owners as a whole. So I strive daily to stay in contact, do the best that I can. And again, I've helped Dunn PAL through volunteering, Simply Girls through volunteering. So it's more in me, and I'm available whenever it arises for me to be there. So thank you.
I too am excited about community involvement. I think that that the panelists that are up here now, we're all involved in certain areas of the community. We represent different groups. I do like the fact of having the opportunity to meet with the PAL group. I have been on in the presence of these young men on several occasions, and we've had some conversation at our last meeting about setting up a youth advisory council. And I think that would be a fantastic way that we could all join together and we could become more involved in the community, as well as our youth getting more involved in the community. And I will say that our PALS program is a great program, and it's bringing out leadership among these young men here. And that's really helping us to have a better community in which to live and work. And thank you all for that.
You're certainly welcome. Mr. Mayor, I actually have a question for you. When it comes to the job of cleaning up Dunn, our home, our community, when it comes to cleaning up Dunn, who should the job be put on? Should it be put on more of the citizens of Dunn or more on our city council or city government?
I think that's a shared responsibility for all of us. We're all citizens here and we all want a better place to live. I think it's each one of us' responsibility. If you're on the sidewalk downtown and you see a piece of trash, it's don't take much to lean over and pick it up. I will say that our city should hold the leadership role in keeping our town clean. And a lot of times we overlook things as we go from point A to point B in life on a daily basis, but there are ways that if you see things that need attention, I would strongly advise you to contact any one of your council members or city hall, and you can call the city manager's office and make us aware of what we need to do.
Are there any questions you guys have for our youth panelists on community safety or cleanup?
Yes, I have. Gentlemen, tell me what you think that we can do as law enforcement officers to reach across the aisle, to reach youth more actively, and what we can do to better inform and educate people about the things that concern you with local law enforcement today, so that we can address those situations proactively instead of reactively.
I'll be the first one to take that question. Like Mr. Fleming was saying, SRO program, you know, there's more to your job than just working it. You know, sometimes you might be, you know, at a cafeteria, or like he was saying, have someone to talk to. You could have presentations in the actual school, as in what law enforcement really is, or, you know, with the Dunn PAL, how last year we did this event called Lights On After School, and that's when the police officers will come in and interact with the community as we give out school supplies, stuff like that. And Also, social media, that's a big thing now. Getting that out there, be like, hey, if you need someone to talk to, your local resource officer.
In the second to take that question. Programs are a big thing. I feel like a lot of people in the community would jump at the idea of a couple programs. My mom used to be in law enforcement, so there were a couple programs that I went along with her, and it was just to get a better feel for their community and to get closer, which ended up working out. And it's also a good thing for you police officers. For any of us walking down the street, you guys will pull up and start a conversation with us. So just being there helps out our community greatly and gives us a better feel of what you guys are.
I would say it would be best for you to try and do it through social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, because almost everybody's there. There's like, I don't think I know a single person that doesn't have Instagram on their phone or Facebook on their computer or anything like that. So I'll post ads and reminders and post them on Instagram, and hopefully people will see them.
I'll take that question too, if you guys don't mind. Basically, like you said, to get the youth more involved, or basically with the police, it starts with the little things, really. Like I say, just like stopping by, giving them having them have a conversation, because with our youth, who do they believe in, like superheroes. Hey, I want to be a superhero. And like, for example, if their favorite superhero picks up trash, then they're going to do the same thing. So as a youth, who do they think are superheroes? They think of cops. They think of you guys as their protectors. So if they see you picking up trash, they see you talking to like nice people, they see you doing your job, your duty as a citizen, then they will follow you because you're their role model. So yeah, going off of what our youth panelists said, it's really the little things that really matter the most.
Okay, I have a question for you, gentlemen. So how open are you to being involved with the community? If it was an event as far as getting to know the city of Dunn, learning a little more, partaking in events that are going on within the community, how open are, I know due to COVID-19, because I think it's important to be a part of your community that you live in. So just give me your input on what you would do, and to know that the city council, the mayor, myself, the chief of police and superintendent, we're here for you, and we want you to be involved, because if we don't have the youth, you're the next generation of our future. So, one day you'll be sitting in our seat. And so what's your input on that?
My input on that is I've always been, real excited to help out my community, being with Dunn Powell just about all my life. Every time Mr. Rowland or the community had something to do, I was always there, and even though at a young age, I'm real big on role model or a stated figure in like a certain school. Like this previous year, I was in SGA, and I felt like if the school could let me be their freshman class president, then they hold me with such responsibility in the quantity that I can give them to. And giving that to me is like saying that they believe in me to improve their situation, or just, if I'm there to volunteer, and if it takes minds off of what adults have to go through, or even kids, then I'm all for it.
So, Mr. Jeff, when it comes to community safety and community cleanup, what is something you would like to see done in your community?
There's a number of things that I would like to see. First and foremost, of having our young people to band together to do kind of an assessment of community. Similarly, I guess to the question of Councilwoman Galden, it's fine to be able to take direction from the adults. But as you can see with things that are going on across the country right now, it's also about our young people stepping up to be leaders as we engage with you throughout PAL mentoring programs, leadership development programs. So it's really looking at you guys to be able to understand what role you guys will seek to play within the community. And then as you identify certain things or certain traits or certain initiatives, then you guys kind of devise a plan and present that plan to your officials for activation and support. So, and with that, I'm going to transition. I have some questions from Q&A here as well that I'm going to put out. Also, before I proceed with questioning, unfortunately, right now we are experiencing some technical difficulties with our celebrity guest, Anthony Hamilton. So right now, at the moment, unfortunately, he's not on the call. But hopefully we can get this worked out and have him in before we wind up transitioning to another phase. But the first question from Q&A is directed to your chief. Chief, can you speak to the recent cry for defunding the police and how that might have a negative impact on community-supported youth programs such as PAL?
I think I understood your question, but you broke up somewhat. Was it concerning defunding police? Is that what the question was?
Yes, basically about the recent cry for defunding and how that may negatively impact your community.
Well, I've heard the issue of defunding police on both sides, and me personally, I think it's a terrible idea to try to go backwards instead of forwards when you're facing problems. There are certainly social issues, and there are things that exist that we need to dedicate more resources to, but there are ways to do that without taking away from public safety that people out here rely on every single day. In some entities and some governments throughout the nation, there may be an excess of funds, or there may be an excess of resources. I personally don't know of that, but I can assure you that we try to make the very most of every dollar that is allocated to us by the city government here in Dunn to provide the very best service that we can to the citizens. So to make the answer very short, no, I'm not in favor of any kind of defunding of public safety positions. Yes, I am in favor of attempting to find additional funding for other resources such as mental health issues and all of those things that we face out here that we're having to deal with in the best means that are possible to us at this time.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question. And this question is directed towards Mayor Elmore. The question is for the mayor. With the COVID-19 virus spreading everywhere, including in Dunn, what are you doing to make sure that the community members are being tested and getting results back in a timely manner to keep the community safe?
We're actually working with the county. Harnett County is the county in which we belong, and Harnett County is in charge of our testing, and they do daily reports on testing and test results for us. We are encouraging social distancing. We have been having some city meetings as we are having here tonight, and we're encouraging the wearing of masks when in groups. We're encouraging social distancing when in groups. The test results, the city is not actually performing any test results, but we are encouraging that through local medical facilities, and we're encouraging that through our county.
Okay. Thank you. Back to you, Nick.
Okay, our youth panelists, let's switch the topic to youth activities. And Malcolm, would you like to take that first question?
Is there any way us kids can help out with any other projects that you guys have planned? This is a question for all of you.
I'll start with this question. I would say definitely. It's very important that you all are connected to not just your elected officials, but anything going on within the community to stay involved. So it's very important at your age to grab a hold of community functions going on. I myself being an elected official, I encourage you all, we invite you to come out to our city council meetings. If you've never been to one, they're the second Tuesday of each month at 7 o'clock. We are practicing social distancing. It's only a certain amount that can come in the council chambers. But if we have to reserve a seat for you all, we will. But we encourage you, because if you just think that we're an elected official, the mayor, and we're just there every Tuesday, you'll never know what's going on. As far as things being, homes being demolished, just the budget, what's in the budget, different parks, who are the supervisors, superintendents. So it gives you the opportunity to learn and not just see things behind a closed lens. So if I have to reserve a seat for you all on the next council meeting, I'll be glad to. But we give you an open invitation. When I was your age, I wasn't interested in being a part of any city council activities. But as I got older, I knew it was important. So make it a priority. And so I invite you out to that. That's my answer.
I would like to say that you all are the eyes and the ears of this community. You see things that we as adults sometimes do not see. So we would love to have your input on things that we could do to make this community better. As April mentioned, we are in the process of trying to clean our community up. We have some housing that is very, very bad and dilapidated, and we're in the process of demolishing housing, and we're in the process of trying to encourage homeowners to fix their properties up and clean their properties up, as you mentioned a few minutes ago. So anything that you guys can do to help us to and show us the things that you would like to have in the community, we would love to hear that and like to work with you on it.
One thing I would like to see in the community, this is something we brought up our last show. This actually had to do with Parks and Rec, but you're the mayor, so kind of same things. But like it was like a scholarship for our youth. So like if a kid wants to play football and maybe his family doesn't have enough money, and then like you guys could do like a scholarship program that would like get him like not like the best cleats, but like just like the basic cleats, the basic stuff that he needs. And like that could be for like any sport, like wrestling at the PAL, like basketball. Like they'd just be like, hey, I need some cleats, and like you could do the scholarship program, and boom, they got cleats. Because like I know a bunch of kids, like me myself, when I was doing sports, my parents didn't exactly have the money to like give us the gear to do it, and I would just love to see like a scholarship program like that to help out our youth. You guys have any questions or like to add on to that?
I'd like to respond to that and say I think that's a great idea, and that is probably a need in the community that you've just brought forward that some of us may not be aware of, and that's certainly something that we can look into and see if we could maybe get some corporate sponsorship that could come in and help provide some of this, as well as participation from the city. Any ideas like that or needs in the community that you're aware of, we can't help with it if we are not aware that the need is there. So please talk to us and let us know.
Nick, I'd like to go back to your original question just a minute there, talking about how you guys can become involved in the community. It may not be glamorous. It may not be something with a lot of fanfare, but the things that Councilwoman Galton was talking about earlier, form a group of people to adopt a section of the city and clean it up. Get them out there and clean it up. You contact Wes Seals, the other city councilman she mentioned that is has formed this beautification committee. He would be glad and welcome the help to do those things. And once you clean it up, what's the first thing that you're going to hear from people? Oh, man, that looks great. It's such a huge improvement. You're going to see immediate response from that. I'll also say this. Dr. Fleming would agree with me on this, I'm sure, that we need you. We need you to let us know when things are not right. When you see something that is about to happen that shouldn't happen, if you see something, we need to know. Say something so that we can, again, be proactive in our ways of thinking and our actions so that we can prevent terrible tragedies from happening.
And I do want to say too, as you continue through your high school journey, think about those people maybe that live around you. Think about those places that you go to play or to hang out. And I will use this term, adopt something. Maybe that's a neighbor that has a child that needs help in reading, and take some time to help a kindergartner, a first grader, someone much younger than you get the basic reading skills, because they're learning that in school. But after hours, it sure would be great to have someone spend some time with them. You know, we have Adopt a Highway and some of these other programs. Find something, or a park maybe, that you will spend time that you want to work on and clean up. But as you leave high school, leave a legacy with you. So when people say, I remember that young man or that young woman, you know, they helped read to a particular student, or they helped clean up a certain part of the county or of the city. And so just think about that. Find something that you're passionate about, adopt that idea, and carry it with you through high school. And I can tell you, many years later, through college and into your work life, you'll look back, and even as you have children, you'll look back and say, I remember when I took interest in doing something great, and then pass that legacy on maybe to your children or to other relatives.
Thank you. That was a great answer to that question. And our next question is going to be directed at Mr. Jeff Hood. Mr. Hood, when it comes to youth activities, what are some things that you've already done or you plan on doing to like help encourage our youth to like get into something, either it's sports or like battle of the books or mock trial, instead of, you know, like just staying at home or anything like that?
Well, from the National PAL standpoint, we look at innovative programming all across the country that seeks to move the needle for our young people. It also starts first and foremost with, as stated by some of the panelists, is listening to our young people. Like, this event is about voices of youth. So that's why we are wanting more of the questions to actually come from you guys to us, as far as what is it that you guys are deficient in? What are the feelings that you guys are sensitive to? But programmatically, we are always looking at programs that encourage our young people. We look at programs that allow our young people to look at things differently instead of a cookie cutter type of program, because we have to understand that kids learn differently. Not every kid is an athlete as well. So we have to make sure that there's programs and initiatives such as STEM programs or technology programs that energize and excite our young people across the country as well, and it gives them opportunity for thought. So with that, Nicholas, I have a few questions from the Q&A. And I hear the echo in the background, so I hope you guys can understand. This question is directed to City Council member April Golden. What accountability measures do you most seek to enforce or might need to be devised within some of your underserved communities?
Can you repeat that again for me, please?
Sure. So it's reading, what accountability measures do you most seek to enforce or might need to be devised within underserved communities?
Well, accountability, that's a very important, and that's a major, that word is very important, accountability. I myself have to be accountable for, especially District 2 and the city of Dunn. So I'm accountable for if someone calls me with a complaint and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do and trying to correct that problem. I also hold accountability for the residents of District 2 and the city as a whole, because we must work together. So someone has to be accountable for something. And I'm accountable to make sure that their streets are the way it could be if it's within reason. And we have talked it over with the other city officials and mayor and the city manager. As far as the residents, we're better together. We have to work together. Iron sharpens iron, and in order to get the things needed. And if I don't know about it, I can't address it. So I hope I answered that question.
Okay. All right. There's another question. I'm trying to read some of these. Okay. This is actually for the question for the youth that came in. It says in their PAL, so evidently it's someone that's already in a PAL program. It says in our PAL, the officers ask us to meet them halfway. I think we sometimes expect other people to solve our problems for us instead of us trying to work out our issues and meet people in the middle. What has been your youth experience of engagement in PAL in Dunn?
I would like to say that question. One, it would be PAL, obviously, and one would be wrestling, because that's where I first started my love for PAL. Not only wrestling, but volunteering. And with wrestling, Officer Perella, he works here in Dunn. He actually showed me a way, like, hey, cops aren't that bad. I mean, it's not all about that. It's about getting to really know what they go through, because at the end of the day, they have to protect themselves as well as we have to protect ourselves. And so is Mr. Rowland and Mr. Clark White, stuff like that.
Really, my experience started way before I even got to PAL. It was just me talking to at the lunch table, just going up there and them asking if I wanted to sign up. It was just the tone of the voice. I felt like they wanted me in the program. So when I finally joined in, there was a lot I could do, and everybody was there to support it. And the adults here, they're down to earth. They always support, and they always give you new experiences too.
For me, it was when I was younger, after I got done with school, I didn't really want to go home because I knew there was nothing to do at the house other than clean up and play video games. So then my mama introduced me to PAL, and I said, yeah, might as well go. First thing that happened was I came in the first day, they helped me out with my homework, and then after that, we started going up. We went to another room, and I got introduced to STEM. So my main thing was going to STEM every Friday. That was my favorite thing to do. That's one of the main reasons I come to PAL. And now we do media arts, which is kind of like the same thing, but we have another teacher. He teaches us how to make music and other things like that, and it's just a great thing to do. And I love coming here.
For me, I started PAL, like, I say how old was I? I was about 8 or 7 years old, so second grade. So I've been in PAL all my life. It's basically like my second family. It's my home, and I love it here. And just like my little brother Nathan, I met Officer Perella, and with wrestling and everything just shot off from there. And like being in PAL, I've always had a positive look on the officer because they've always done so much for me, and it's only respectful if I show that same love and respect back. But to go back to that 50-50 meeting the cops halfway, I don't think that's correct at all. I think that instead of meeting them halfway, why not walk with them that whole walk? That way, both of you nurture, both of you grow, and like I said, you'll both develop that love for the citizens, and that citizen will develop that love for the cops.
Very good. Okay, Nick, gonna turn it back over to you now.
Thank you,
Questions
Mr.
from
Hood.
our youth?
Do you guys have any last questions before we switch the topic?
Yes, my last question is for Chief Clark White. When Corona finally dials down, how do you plan to introduce your police academy to the citizens?
Well, we're already working on a formation of continuation of the police academy. We were able to launch one and successfully completed. It was a great, great asset, and the citizens of the community enjoyed it. You guys talking to me tonight has made me think about something that maybe we could do a younger person's version of this police academy and bring you on board and show you some things and explain some things. And as our moderator said, walk with you through the entire process so that you can better see and better understand. That's just a few ideas that are rolling around. We have a lot of other activities other than the wrestling we want to participate with you guys in. We want to be available to you. We want to help you. And that way, we can set the bar a little higher, and we can set the standard for the nation a little higher.
Considering the Imagine Done project or survey, how do you plan to use the data you receive from it to better the community?
I'll answer that being that I'm on the board for the Imagine Done. We started the Imagine Done strategic planning group to beautify Done a little better, get the input of the residents, business owners, homeowners, just to see what they're in need of, what their input is, because like anything else, when you're trying to do something, we can't do it by ourselves, and we need the involvement of the community. We do have a age criteria where we do have high school children that can fill it out, I think at the age of 17 up to over 65 years old. So if it's something that's needed, and again, Imagine Done being what it was 20, 30 years ago, into a new age of Imagine Done. So we have a lot of great ideas coming to Done, and I look forward. I'm ecstatic being on this board with some great board members. And so we just ask that you, each and every resident, we encourage them to fill out this survey, because again, if we don't know what the main target is, and we can't focus on just that one topic, we're just doing everything all across the board of the government officials, different departments, beautification, restaurants. So, just Imagine Done and fill out that survey is what I encourage them to do.
I'd like to follow up on what April just said. April is our representative, one of two members from our city council that serve on this committee. And just so that you'll understand from a national level what we're doing, we have formed a visioning group for our city and hired a professional group to come in. And we are surveying our entire community to determine what the needs are in this community. And that, as April said, that goes from youth well into senior citizens. And we do need the input of the community. And we plan on, once we compile all this information, then we plan to put it in process so that we can begin to make some things happen that the community wants to see, and not just sit back and wait for things to happen and accept what comes our way. We want to be a part of the planning process to make our community what the citizens desire it to be.
One more question before we switch topics. Knowing that with every new activity there comes with a price, the factor of affordability comes in. How are you going to get all these activities out there and make it, affordable for the youth? This is a question for a city council.
Well, that's one of the main goals. Like the moderator stated earlier, as far as children not being able to pay, the parents not being able to pay for equipment for the kids. So we do try to look in the means of affordability of whatever the needs are, and it's not outrageous. And so that's something that we as a council, not just myself, we as a council, the city manager, we sit down and we have a budget formed on what we actually can do and in the means of doing. And there is a lot of people out here that can be a sponsor for some of the kids. As you stated earlier about, we have a great Parks and Recreation Director, Brian McNeil, that is over Dunn Parks and Recreation, Dominique Smith. And so, you know, once you collab and get to know other people, you'll never know the resources that are out there for you.
Thank you, Ms. Golden. That was a great answer to his question. And now, to switch the topic, we're going to educational opportunities. And Jarrell, would you like to take us off?
My first question is I'm sorry, I completely forgot your name. What's your name again?
Dr. Fleming.
Sorry, Dr. Fleming. What is the plan to keep students safe as we go back to school?
Absolutely. Well, like I believe the mayor had earlier, when we start going back face-to-face instruction with our students, the first thing that you guys will notice as you go into the building and that our community will notice is we will have temperature checks. We will then have all of our hallways are actually ready now. All of our hallways are marked to ensure social distancing and to make sure that everyone's walking on the right side of the path, and the oncoming traffic doesn't get in front of you, and making sure we're able to do that. We're going to have everyone wearing masks, both adults and the students in the school. And one thing you'll notice when you get back to school that you didn't see last time is that all over our hallways and in our classrooms, we have hand sanitizer stations. They're touchless. You just put your hand under them. And those are just a few of the physical types of things you will see. But also, we're working with our teachers and our staff right now to make sure that when you guys come back to school, that we're educating you on, especially younger kids, make sure we're educating on washing our hands and keeping our distance and all as well. So there's a lot of planning going on behind the scenes. The way we serve lunch now will change. The way you ride the bus now will change. And so there's a whole smorgasbord of items. And we're actually right now today through the next couple days filming a video that we're going to put out to the public to show all the changes in our schools that have taken place because of this. And so some of the things you'll see and some you won't. But our goal is to make sure that as you come back to school that you're protected, as well as our teachers and our staff are protected as well.
I have another question for you.
It's education, so I figured I'd keep the mask off. I figure I'll have a few of them here.
I have another question for you. This goes back to affordability.
Yes.
How do you plan to put that in place for extracurricular activities like driver's ed?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've really been focused on since I've been in Harnett County is making sure that free public education really is free. I know a lot of times when I went through school, and I know the same for you guys and probably the whole panel, is that we're always having to do something, pay a couple bucks here and there. You mentioned driver's education. That once was free, and then as state funding became short, the legislature basically told school districts, hey, you need to be able to charge to keep that program up. But there's also costs associated with athletics. There's costs associated with music and band and clubs. And so one of the things I believe that some of these extra costs can be really taken care of at the private level. People always ask me, in education, we're always asking for more public money. And people will always say, hey, what's the right amount? And as a superintendent, I never answer the question. I simply say, well, there's probably never going to be enough public money to make everyone happy. So we're really going to have to start looking at private dollars. And I think through sponsorships, partnerships, some external fundraising, just like colleges and universities. If you go to any large college or university, they have an advancement office, and they're always in the mode of fundraising. And I don't know that we need to go to that level on the K-12 side of it, but I definitely think that as public schools, we do need to reach out to private donors and businesses to assist us in some of these extracurricular activities instead of always going to the taxpayer and asking them.
Decision making is a very important decision when it comes to high school, and when getting out of high school, we're almost full-grown adults. It's our decision to go to college and all that. And voting also takes into accountability. So this is my question for City Councilwoman and Educational. For how do you guys plan on, encouraging our youth to vote? And for people that don't want to vote, how do you plan on appealing towards them also?
Absolutely. You want to start with that, or ladies first?
That's a very good question. It's a very important topic. Voting is important. It's not who you vote for as long as you vote, because if you don't vote, then it's like you're voiceless. So if you have concerns and you want to know who's representing you, then your vote matters in whatever election, local, state, and federal, not just on voting for your local elected officials. It matters state and federal. So, it's important, and I have a 23-year-old daughter. She's been voting since she was 18. So it starts at home, the importance of it. It doesn't your party affiliation as long as you vote. So it is important. And so, I can't tell you who to vote for. Again, when you're 18, I encourage you to vote. And so I do go out, even with the election coming up, I do go out and ask the young people, if I see them, are you registered to vote? If you have a conversation with me and you're old enough to vote, I will ask you, are you registered to vote? And give you the necessary steps to go and register. It's early voting. There's people working the polls and poll workers that are coming out to see if you voted. That's just like the census. It's very important. So, that's a part of accountability. When you're 18, you're just not considered grown. You're considered, well, I have other steps of life that I must target as an 18-year-old, not just signing a lease, but to be able to vote and exercise that right. And thank you for that question.
And it comes down to just that, as you become an adult, having that right to vote and making sure that you exercise it. One of the things I encourage, as a school district, we can't get into politics, but we can tell our students as they become of age to register to vote. That's something very important. And just like you heard, it gives you a voice in our electoral process. And I would also have you encourage your friends as well. I think it's okay to ask someone, have you registered to vote? And if they haven't, you can go through that process to assist them with filling out a voter registration. So I think it's very important that you have the right. I think it's very important you exercise that right. But also, I think we all have an obligation to make sure those sitting with us or those that are friends as we're out and about, to make sure that they understand that's a right as well.
I completely agree with that. And Mr. Hood, would you like to take the next question?
Yes, I have another question from the Q&A, and this is to the superintendent. As superintendent, what is being done to ensure a level educational playing field for all youth within public schools?
I think the number one thing we're doing is partnering with local organizations like Dunpal here and our other community-based organizations all across the county, YMCA, the other Pell groups in the county as well, and making sure that, one, we're able to identify where there's a location in our community where someone may need that extra support or that extra boost. It may be socioeconomic. It could be really a wide range of areas that make a student or identifies a student as at risk, and we want to make sure we're there to support them. But we usually use our outside organizations to help with that. We do take a focus of a what we call wraparound or whole child services, where we will find if a student is in need of eyeglasses or of dental work or food insecurities, we're going to go the extra mile to make sure that our school counselors and our administrators and teachers, for that matter, connect students to whatever it is they may need, even though it may not be a service that the school district offers. I think that kind of goes back to earlier in the town hall when we were talking about working with other organizations. And when we do find an inequity, we make sure we do all we can to kind of fill that gap, to help individuals up, to boost them up, so that they are able and at a level playing field with everyone else. And typically, we've been able to do that with our community-based organizations, and certainly Dunn Powell's a wonderful example of that.
Okay, thank you. There's some of these questions are very, very long. So let me make that statement as well. Those of you guys that are listening, when you are placing a question in the Q&A, if you can kind of shorten some of your questions and not write a paragraph, that would be great. It makes it very difficult to try and put together to ascertain what the question is. So with that, Nick, I'm going to send it back to you as I try to decipher what some of these paragraphs of question might be.
Well, from our youth panelists, are there any last questions you guys want to ask, or from our adult panelists, any questions you guys are like to ask our youth before we go to our next topic?
Well, since we're on education, I think it's important that I ask, and that is, how are our schools doing identifying inequities, and what are some suggestions that you would have for us to improve in those areas?
I'll go ahead and take that first question. I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Well, I was asking, what do you see inequities when you're at school? And if you do, what are some suggestions you would have for us to be able to meet those or to fill those gaps?
I don't believe it's the school system where the inequities are. It's basically like discouragement. A lot of our youth will go to school and they'll be in these classes and they're like, man, I don't get this, and they'll be so scared and so discouraged to actually ask, look out, hey, I need some help. Or you can get even bigger with a problem. It could be a rising senior. They don't know what to do after high school. They're like, after high school, I don't know what I'm going to do. And like I said, they're so shy, so discouraged to actually go to these teachers and be like, is there anything I can do, any opportunities? Like, they're just like, I need help on my path. I think like having like at the PAL, having basically like a mentoring program at the schools, but being more into like this person's lives. And I think it should be for like juniors, seniors, like I'm saying, sophomore, freshman, they're still, finding their way, versus like junior, seniors, we got to help you guys now. You guys need to figure out what you're going to do. I think like implementing a mentoring program.
Right.
And sorry, just one quick thing. It could be like for anyone, like it could be the teachers, the principal, like it could be anyone. And that's all for me.
Good. That's great.
This is an idea from Cumberland County, would be a team prep program, which would be, not just sitting in the class, you might socialize a little bit, but actually get to sit down with your fellow youth, whether they're senior, junior, sophomore, freshman, and actually tell them, like, man, how's your day going? Is everything okay? Do you need someone to talk to? Or, man, if I can reach out to someone that can help you with certain affordability, just getting all that stress out. Because, even though some high schoolers don't work, but, we do go through the stress of going to school that day. And, sometimes, like Nick was expressing on discouragement, if we don't get something, we can just go to, like a senior or a junior and just be comfortable, like, yo, man, I don't get this. Can you please help me?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot better. And it builds up that confidence to, then again, talk to an adult.
I think that's a great idea. That's definitely something to take back with me. I like that.
That was great. That was a good thing. All right. But, mainly for me, it's like, it's peer pressure, because the teacher would say, do you understand? And students will always go either yes. And there are some students, and with the online learning now, we all have our mics muted, cameras off. So we don't actually know if, us youth actually understand the material. I know this firsthand because all of us in my math class saying we understand the material. Then when it comes to test day, we're completely clueless because we want it to look good in front of everybody. I have found myself helping out some of my classmates or some of my friends. If they need help in one subject, I help them out with that. If I need help in one subject, they'll help me out with that. But there should be some programs, and I think there are some programs that already are in place to, it's like tutoring to help out students understand topics.
I know the COVID-19 situation has not made that easier with online learning. I know.
I think it would be best for you to try to talk to the kids that's not as shy or as timid as the other children. Talk to them first, and then let those children introduce it to the more shy children.
Actually, I have one more question before we end the topic. Oh, sorry, this one was kind of written down. But how do you guys, Young City Council, Mr. Mayor, Police Department, how do you guys plan to partner with the educational system to better help build and have our youth be more successful in life?
Well, I'll start off with that. First, I would like to encourage you youth not to be scared. Because if you're scared, then you'll never open your mouth to say anything. And so I really encourage you to, say what you feel and create a rapport with someone. Having a role model is important. You're at an age where you should already know what you want to do. 11th and 4th grade, you have to write it down. And you need to write the vision and make it plain. So you should already know what you're going to do. If you desire to go to college, at least have 5 colleges down on a sheet of paper. Set yourself a goal in mind, because again, accountability. They can teach you, you can learn, but you have to be held accountable for what you're going to do in the future. I say to the superintendent, if they have a problem with the teacher, I know everybody doesn't learn on the same level. Teachers need to be more understanding of the students. I know now that you all are doing this virtual learning, it is difficult. My thoughts and prayers are with the parents as well as the educators, because it's the new norm right now due to COVID-19. But I encourage you, if you don't know, to speak up. If you have their email them and let them know, because when you're embarrassed, it puts you in a shell where you don't want to talk. And so if you create a rapport with your teacher that, okay, look, I don't understand, but I don't need to be embarrassed in front of my classmates, then you have that relationship with them. And again, find a role model to help you. Me as a newly elected official, that newly elected, because I'm learning. This is my first year. December will be a year that I've been in. And so I had to find my way. It was things that I seen behind that I was looking through a closed lens. Now the lens is open and it's here in front of me. But even though I'm an elected official, I'm a mother first. And so I'm here and I make myself available to any youth. I've been a mentor for over 15 years. If you don't know it, I can help you, or I have the resources for them to help you. If it's something that you want to be involved in, male or female, I have the resources to help you. So it is resources and people out here that are open. I know a group of gentlemen that, from photographers to authors to, they're in the Mason group. I mean, they're awesome people, football coaches. They're there. You don't have to be an athlete to succeed in life, but you're a student first before you're an athlete. So keep that in mind. And know that your education comes first. Respect yourself and respect others. And your future is bright. And so just keep moving forward, but write your vision down and make it plain.
Thank you, April. That's a great answer. A part of our in North Carolina, our schools are controlled by a county school system, with exception of I think there's 2 city schools within our state. but so we have local schools here, but we have to work with our county. I think it's our responsibility to hold the county, Dr. Fleming, and the education system, the education board. We have to hold them accountable for what they're doing and what they're teaching our local citizens. I do feel like that our visioning process that's been talked about a couple of times tonight is also involving education, and that's going to help us to really define what we need and what we want in the city of Dunn throughout the school systems that we have here. And I think through that we'll be able to communicate some of our needs more to the county as we work together with them in a partnership to try to get our schools where they need to be and to help the students to achieve what you need to within the school system.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was a great answer. And
If I can follow up with the mayor, I think I do want to say this because I think this is a good example. When I first came to Harnett County, we were, identifying locations for our new early college. And I believe that we need to get as grassroots in everything we do. And so in Harnett County, we have a lot of for just being a county, we have a large county, and there's a lot of different regions in the county, if you will, either rural within the county or more urban within the cities. And I'm so proud that we were able to take, and the viewers may not know this, but we took the campus we're on here, able to renovate a building and put our early college here in an old Rosenwald school. It's been renovated, very beautiful, has a lot of strong history. And we base our early college out of this campus. And I think that was a very strong partnership between our school district and the city of Dunn at that time to really have, I think it's a great, it's all kind of a public partnership on our side, a little more private public partnership on the city side, and we were able to include our community college as well. And so I think in what the mayor was sharing there, I think that is a prime example that I hope we can do more across Harnett County and really across our state and country. But we were able to really bring part of a campus back to life with a new school that's packed every day. Great.
And if I could just add a little to what Dr. Fleming has already said, through partnerships with the Board of Education, we've been able to obtain grants to provide school resource officers, as he said earlier, to every school in the county. So our number one objective as law enforcement officers is to provide a safe environment for students to learn. But at the same time, that encouragement is contagious, is it not, Nick? When you see the officers in the school and you're having a bad day and they encourage you and tell you that everything's okay and you're doing great and you just keep working hard and you're going to get there. We have so many things available in the state of North Carolina that other states do not have. The community college system Dr. Fleming mentioned is a huge asset. There is opportunity and there is accessibility to education to everyone in the state of North Carolina if you're just willing to put forth the effort.
Thank you, Chief White. That was great. And before we switch the topic, Mr. Hood, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, thank you. I have another question, and this question is actually to our youth panelists. So it's asking for each of you guys to take the opportunity to answer the question. And I guess we'll start with Nathan. As a youth in the community of Dunn, what most concerns you or bothers you?
One thing that most concerns me or bothers me would be, I would say, a little bit of communication, because, although we are here talking now, there may be others that are too afraid to speak up, and that's not counting like something to better the community, but to better themselves or getting that feel like we were talking about earlier, discouragement. Whether it's a brother or sister or a best friend, y'all could be talking 1 second about football or basketball, and you don't know what that person has to come back home to. He could be having a lot of stress problems or a lot of problems at home or suffering from depression, but you'll never know it. because he's probably always peer pressured, or he's probably gone adapted to always staying in his shell like a turtle. And sometimes having that one friend to reach out and be like, hey, everything's okay, man. Are you all right? How's your day going? You want to grab something to eat? Stuff like that is a real help.
Okay, Malcolm?
Well, being in this community for 3 years, I haven't really experienced much of Dunn, but I know a little bit about it. I would say my most concerns, communication is one thing, but with communication, it's the people and their mindset. So people could have a good mindset or a bad mindset, or it could be in the middle, but it's all about what their vision is and what they think. What they think could be what they want, not what the people want. So basically, communication leads to good things and makes people think twice about some of their decisions. So a person with a bad mindset, communication with their community, they realize what they're doing is wrong. They could possibly get a good mindset and change up some of their plans.
Okay, Jarrell?
My problem would be the outlook on how we look. I had a cousin that came down from Tennessee, and he asked me, why does it look so dirty here? And I said, I have no clue. And that really stuck with me, because I was like, Dunn is a great city. The community is strong, but it's always something. It was always dirty. And I was like, the best thing I would say is for us to clean it up, make it look nice, so we don't get a bad outlook, or so we don't give a bad image to any other cities.
To answer that question, my problem would be like watching all these, like basically like seeing all these good athletes, all this potential in like a student, and then like they've got so many hopes and dreams, and then like the next like few years they're like working at McDonald's or something like that. And I guess like the problem would be basically not achieving those dreams, and then like they end up having so much regret in their life. So yeah, to answer that question, just seeing dreams shattered and not achieved around here would be my problem.
Okay, and then a follow-up from, it says anonymous, but it's to youth panel. As young African-American men, what are your fears in your community right now growing up, if any, and how could it be changed to trust?
I'll hit that question. One would be, I would say, a form of racial profiling. Like, I'm such a good youth, I'm SDA president, but somebody might look at me just the color of my skin and be like, oh, you're such a bad person. I'm just like, why can't you see past that? Like, I'm doing good, I'm doing great. It's just the outlook you have on the race. Why can't you just look at what's really inside? And yes, I do have big dreams for myself, and I plan, like I said, leadership. And me have someone say that to me would be kind of, a little heartbreaking, but still I'm going to take that and bring it as motivation to what challenges come forth.
Again, racial profile is everything. A person could have a bad experience with one person and pile everybody thinking they're like that also. I've had a couple run-ins where it was like that when I was a young kid, not understanding what they've meant, but now understanding now that they didn't like me because of the color of my skin, and they didn't care what my outlook was or what I thought. For me, I can't really hate people, or I can't dislike people until you give me a reason not to. Everybody's the same to me, no matter what your color of your skin is, no matter, how you act. People act differently, but everybody acts differently to act good in their own way.
For me, my parents always tried to shield me from those things. They didn't want me to see what was wrong in the world, but at some point they did have to tell me, and I did get to see what it was. And I would say, yeah, just like both of them said, racial profiling is one of my main things. I think that's our main thing for all of us. We don't like to be we don't want to be talked about just because of the color of our skin. We want to be talked about because of what we do and what we do in our life and how we feel.
Going off what Jarrell said, you said something about sheltering. Your mother would like shelter you and not like show you what the world really was, and you said that you later found that out about it. But I say a few months ago, I guess, yeah, a few months ago, this was during the summer. I was actually arrested by some Irwin cops. Wasn't doing anything illegal. It was just some misunderstanding. Me and one of the PAL mentors, we were held at gunpoint and we were checked. We were searched. Nobody was harmed, but that it had a very emotional and spiritual, basically attack on me. I definitely lost, not every sense, but I lost respect for cops, and it was greatly discouraging because as a youth, after being with cops for so long, you wouldn't think to realize that that things like that could happen, and it was really discouraging at the time. But you also have to remember that not every cop is bad, and I would say use your mind. As a child, I was always told by my father, you have a mind, use it to the best way that you can. And it's so important for us as youth to educate ourselves in politics, council, education, and police. It is so important to use your mind, because if you don't, then like those little incidents like that could send you on a path that you can't even recover from.
Okay, Nicholas, I'm gonna turn it back over to you for next questioning.
No, I was hoping that question would have been in the next one, but to our last topic will be Black injustice. So Nathan, would you like to start us off?
This question is for Mr. White. Given all the social turmoil and racial injustices, how do you plan to keep the image of the Dunn Police Department circulating or positive?
Again, by doing all the right things and trying to be proactive in our leadership of the police department and communication with the community. We strive to train our officers to the very highest level that we possibly can. If there's new techniques or there's new innovative ideas that are available, we're willing and open to try anything. This is where it's so important for us to have this discussion in open forum. So when you bring an issue to us, then this may be something that we've never even thought of or never seen or never addressed, but it gives us an opportunity to learn, it gives us an opportunity to teach, and it gives us an opportunity to grow.
We had touched upon this topic at a later town meeting, but the question was, after the death of George Floyd, that event, the outlook on how people looked at police officers was starting to be questioned. Some people immediately jumped to all police officers being bad. Some people keeping a positive outlook on police officers. But nonetheless, you guys were being questioned on your point of view on what your true visions were for our people, all of us, not just the youth, but mainly the youth, because their minds are developing, and what we think now is going to be what we think in the future, you know? So my question is, how are you really planning on getting the people that think negative or starting to question you police officers, how are you guys, helping them out or, getting them to get you guys on a good outlook?
Well, again, a lot of what is perceived by people is the way they see the services of the police department or the sheriff's department or the highway patrol or whatever law enforcement agency it is. And most times, unfortunately, when do you call the police? When something's wrong. So there's already a bad stigma that goes along with that, because most things that we have to deal with are a negative situation. But every chance that you have to interject a positive situation to that, then that's what we want to do. And if we see something that is wrong, we want to make sure that that doesn't occur a second time. We want to take that as a moment to correct and to teach and to make sure that those things don't occur again. So we're very fortunate to live in a part of the country where people here make good decisions. They use good common sense. They talk to one another. They reason with one another. They listen to one another. And that is what a community is all about. And I'm very proud to serve as the police chief of the city of Dunn because we have a great population of people. The demographics here, that's something else that we've worked really hard to do since Chief West, my predecessor, started a huge effort to change the demographics of the police department to better reflect the community and to make it appropriate for the people that we serve. And I'm proud to say that as a training and recruitment lieutenant, I was very much involved in that. And as the interim chief of police, I've continued that effort. We have Hispanic officers, we have black officers, we have bilingual officers. I think all of that is a part of the solution to the problem. The better communication, the less misunderstanding.
My question is for Miss April. When you first started and you finally met your fellow members of the council, did you feel or did you think that any of them looked at you differently because of the color of your skin?
Well, actually, when I came in and was a elected official, it did. I have the personality of it doesn't matter what they thought of me. My position was I'm purposed to be here. And so no matter the color of my skin, I will be respected. And I say to you all, because being an African American woman, I have a brother, I have nephews, I have cousins, and you all are like my little children. You deserve the respect. I do know that racism exists, and you cannot be defined because you want to wear your hair the way that you want to. Dreadlocks don't mean you're a thug. No matter if you came from the projects, that doesn't make you no less than anyone else. So it's not, just keep a level head and understand that it does exist, but every situation doesn't mean it's a racial situation because you do have to play a part in it. So no, I was not worried about what they thought of me because I do sit behind my nameplate every second Tuesday of the month, and I am who I say I am. So that what they thought of me didn't matter, and that's an honest answer.
That's a great mindset to have, Ms. Colvin. And this question is actually for all four of you. When it comes to the words Black Lives Matter, what comes to mind to you? I'll go ahead and answer that question for you guys. Like for me, when I think of Black Lives Matter, I think of young Black youth. I think of the youth of the community because that is the backbone to everything.
Well, I'll take that. When I think of Black Lives Matter, as I was a speaker for the peaceful protests here, and in my speech, I said, you'll never understand what it is to be Black in America, and Black Lives Matter. We have been, it's a racial profiling, and when you were talking about the police department, me as an elected official, I have to hold them accountable. So if it's something done like that here, myself as a council, have to hold them accountable. And again, that comes a part of accountability. Thankfully, in my term, I have not seen any of that. If I don't know about it, it's just something that I don't know. But again, accountability. And I say it loud and I say it proud. Black Lives Matter, and arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. That's just my thoughts. I'm just straight 100 on that because I was raised where in the South. And so I understand that, but I haven't had that experience. I don't know what may come ahead of me in in days, months, years to come. But I do know that exists and that they can't change. So BLM.
Let me say that I think the way that we address the answer to that question is by leadership. Black Lives Matter. Yes. When this situation occurred with George Floyd, we had an uprising of young people within the city of Dunn that wanted their voices to be heard. April was just talking about the protest that was held here in the city of Dunn. Well, there was a lot of things that were circulating on social media and within the community, and it could have became a very dangerous situation. And my goal as the chief of police was to provide a safe environment for people to be heard and allow them to protest in a lawful manner and make sure they are protected. Not only do I protect any special group of people, but I protect everyone. So providing the education and reaching across the lines and telling our youth what they needed to do to apply for a parade permit within the city of Dunn so they're in compliance with law, and to allow us to help them to plan and organize this march so that they would be protected and they didn't have to worry about traffic running over them or someone trying to assault them or someone trying to stifle them from saying what they wanted to say. It was extremely important for them to be heard, and not only the youth, but the whole community. So my job was to take all that into account and to protect the entire community while protecting this group of people who wanted to have their voices heard. And I think that we did that, and I think by us having a peaceful protest that we demonstrated that we are the leaders and forward thinking in this community and this county, and that we did it the right way.
When I hear Black Lives Matter, I always kind of pause for a moment because I want to, first of all, understand that no matter what happens, I'll never understand. I can be empathetic. I can say a lot of things personally and professionally, but then I always have to remind myself that that's not something I've had to live live through, and something I need to understand more about. But I will tell you from being superintendent of schools in Harnett County, I can give you the perspective of when we are hiring individuals and in particularly recruiting individuals, are we keeping in mind that Black Lives Matter? When we are going through our policies and procedures and student discipline, are we keeping Black Lives Matter in mind? And I think it's going to take all of us within all of our lives, that little piece of whatever it is we do. In my case, it's education. It may be law enforcement. It may be local government. It may be public service, medical, all the different jobs that everyone has and all the different sectors we're in. For us to ask that every day that I make a decision or I do my work, am I trying to make the world a better place by making Black Lives Matter? And I think especially, I feel like I've always tried to have that mindset, but there are times I catch myself sometimes thinking, did I include that in a certain decision that I made? And something I try to instill among our school administrators. We need more administrators of coming from minority populations. We certainly need to recruit more teachers from minority populations, and I think we're doing that. We've created some memorandums of understanding with some historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and our recruiting of teachers and leaders, and we're starting to see that pay off. And our discipline of minority students has gone down dramatically in the last couple of years. In fact, we were pretty high on a list that said we were over suspending minority students, and we've worked on that and implementing several different programs to show that we are trying to keep that in mind.
I'd like to say that there are certainly great answers from each of these three individuals that have just spoken. And certainly I do also feel that Black Lives Matter. When we had, after the death of Floyd, we did hear that there was going to be some protests and marches in our city. And I will tell you that as a mayor, I started meeting with leaders in the Black community here so that there could be a march and a peaceful protest. And I met with the head of our local NAACP and two Black ministers in this community, along with the chief of police and along with the Harnett County Sheriff. And the six of us sat down and had some very good conversation and tried to put together a plan. And I will say that the members of this panel and my friend Zach over here, they put together and they were in charge of a peaceful march that we had that was considered to be a unity march. And that march had as many whites involved in it as it did blacks from this community. And I think it showed a great effort put forth in the community of our two races, along with some Hispanics that were involved, to come together for the purpose of acknowledging that, yes, we do have problems in this nation. And I, like the superintendent said, I don't know what it's like to live as a Black individual, because I was not born as a Black individual. But the conversations that we have had on numerous occasions that I've had with members of this panel and that we're having now tonight helps us all to have a better understanding. We're all here together. We're all God's people, and we've got to, we're the same inside. Our skin color may be different, but we've got to learn to live together and accept our differences and move forward as a nation. And I'm very proud of the community of Dunn and what took place here during the peaceful march and that we had here, the unity march that we had.
Amen to that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Golden, Mr. Fleming, Chief White. Thank you guys, and to our youth panelists. And I will turn it over to Mr. Jeff Hood.
Great. Thank you so much, Nick. I really want to thank, as our great moderator has done this evening, thank everyone for participating. It's very important to include, and I hope that our officials will see from this and what they've gotten from this discussion. It's important to include our young people in the discussion and invite them to the table. I've heard from several of you this evening speaking of, that was a great point coming from one of our young people. That was a great point. Hadn't thought about that. Maybe that's something that we can take back to consider. So I think by including them more in the discussions, and as I think was brought up about having youth advisory councils and all, I hope that does take place, and hopefully that several members from the Dunn PAL will have the opportunity to participate and engage. But I want to thank again everyone for taking the time, for participating in this very much needed and direct and intentional conversation. And I did want to leave with this one thing, and it was something that was written in the Q&A, and it may be more towards Chief, but I'll read it and you can see. What about having informational presentations with the youth, especially the African American youth, on proper procedures if they are ever pulled over? I believe right now there is such a negative light on the whole situation that youth are unsure on how to react in such a situation. So I just wanted to get that one last Q&A in there as well. But again, thanks so much to Dunn PAL and Rodney and the staff. Thanks so much for Microsoft, Sports Engine, Extended Stay America for participating. And I'll apologize on behalf of Anthony Hamilton that his technology issues did not get itself out. And on behalf of National PAL, we invite everyone to our next session that'll take place at 6:00 p.m. on September 24th. And it will be coming live from North Miami Beach, Florida. And hopefully that everyone will tune in then as well for our 7th session of hearing from the voices of our young people. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for your time, and look forward to all the continued great work that happens and takes place in Dunn, PAL, and Dunn, North Carolina. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.